So good day, ma'am. Good day, classmates. So here are the report of Group 3, and our topic is all about patterns and diagrams.
What is symmetry? Symmetry is something where one side is a mirror, image, or reflection of the other. So, it means, ang isa ka side sa butang, kay murag salamin niya or anino sa isa ka butang. The three basic kinds of two-dimensional symmetry are reflection, rotation, and translation. The first is reflectional symmetry. Reflectional symmetry is a type of symmetry where one half of the object reflects to the other half of the object. Ito ang symmetry na pag pinaghati mo ang isang bagay ay hindi nagbabago yung itsura niya, yung shape and sizes. The first example is the butterfly. Tingnan nyo ang butterfly, pag hinati siya into two, hindi nagbabago yung shape niya and yung size niya, and pares gyapon sila og design. The second example is the mountain. Ang mountain is nag-reflect siya sa lake. Ang yang image mao ra gyapon, the same ra gyapon, walay na usab. The third example is ang mga shape. Ang mga shape is gitunga siya kung ikapila siya matunga, but the same shape, sizes gyapon and design.
The order of rotational symmetry of a square is how many times a square fits onto itself during a full rotation of 360 degrees. So, pila daw ka times ang square during a full rotation of 360 degrees. So, please look at the image of the square in the order A, B, C, and D, and E. So, ang E is the original images. So, mo ang A ang original. So, and then the images B, C, D, and E are generated by rotating the original image A. So, kining B, C, and D, and E, mo ni sila ang nag-rotate. When we look at the above images of square, it fits on itself 4 times during a full rotation of 360 degrees. So, for example, when a square is rotated by 90 degrees, it appears the same after rotation. So, same lang gihapon. So, the angle of rotation for a square is 90 degrees. Kay, same angle lang man siya, bisag pag i-tuyo ko nimo siya or bali-balikon or gihapon for side at 90 degrees. Your hexagon has an angle of symmetry at 60 degrees. A regular pentagon has 72 degrees, and so on. So what is rotational symmetry? Rotational symmetry, also known as radial symmetry, ginatawag po siya og radial symmetry. So in geometry is the property a shape has when it looks the same after the same rotation by partial turn. So an object degree of rotational symmetry is the number of distinct orientations in which it looks exactly the same for each rotation. So, bisag ikapila pa nimo siya, tanawon, same rotation lang gyapon sila.
There are types of symmetric pattern. Number 1 is ang rosette pattern. So, what is rosette pattern? When we say rosette pattern, his pattern consists of taking motif or an element and rotating and or reflecting pattern. In rosette pattern, rotating is needed. Rotation in rosette pattern is required, and reflecting is only an optional. And there are 3 examples of rosette pattern, which is makita na to nga there is rotation or rotating nga nahitabo. So another example that I can give in rosette pattern, which is ang logo sa Mitsubishi nga sakyanan, nga makita po nato nga naay rosette pattern or naga-rotate siya. So those are the example of rosette pattern nga akong mahatag.
The there are two types of rosette pattern. One is a cyclic rosettes and two is the hedral rosettes. So what is cyclic rosettes? So cyclic rosettes has rotation symmetry only around a center point. So from the word cyclic rosettes, we always remember that there is no reflection symmetry. So here are the example of cyclic rosettes. So example in cyclic rosettes is a pinwheel. So as we can see in the picture, pinwheel has no reflection. So here are the other example in cyclic rosettes. So makita gid nato sa picture no nga has no reflection symmetry.
Dihedral rosettes has rotation symmetry around the center point, and from the word dihedral rosettes, we should always remember that there is a reflection lines through the center point. For example, this is a flower, right? So flower is an example of dihedral rosette. So as we can see in the picture, the flower has reflection lines through the center point, right? So the other example, this flower. So as you can see at the last part of my report is the last picture that you have seen in the dihedral. So that you can see that they always have a lines through the center point, right? Part 1 and this picture 2, picture 3, picture 4, so picture 5.
So there are two types of fringe pattern. So first is a fringe pattern, also known as a border pattern or infinite stripe pattern. It's an infinite strip with a repeating pattern. The term fringe comes from architecture and refers to a horizontally running decorative curving or pattern directly below a ruffling or ceiling. A second example of this is a decorative band or architecture above a stairs or columns. It can be found on the inside or outside of buildings that ancient Greek created many architectural concepts is still used today, such as idea or a dome on face. Some of example of phrase pattern. Sama na siya ang phrase pattern. Ano siya ang example. Classification of phrase symmetry groups. Phrase groups are two-dimensional line groups having repetition in only one direction. They are related to the more complex wallpaper groups and crystallography groups. Phrase groups classify patterns that are repetitive in two directions and more complex in all three directions. Phrase groups. So, nasa 7 ka buo. So, una, F1, translation or symmetry only or HOP. So, sa F2, translation and glide reflection symmetry or SIDLE or step. F3, translation or vertical reflection symmetry or SIDLE. So, F4, translation of reflection by half turn, symmetry or spinning hole. So, F5, translation, gliding reflection or rotation by half turn or symmetry spinning SIDLE. So, F6, translation and horizontal reflection symmetry or jump. F7, translation, horizontal and vertical reflection and rotation or spinning jump.
Translation symmetry. So, translational symmetry occurs when a shape moves a certain distance equally over and over, creating a pattern. A phrase pattern's translation length is the distance between repeats. When we say translational symmetry, ang mga anggulo sa loob ng figure ay hindi ang mga angle kay dili mausab or ang mga shape or ang figure itself. So glide reflection is where a shape mirror itself over a horizontal line and then translate the distance over. Frieze pattern can be classified into 7 types based on their symmetries or isometry. So, ang first frieze pattern rather have ma-identify o ma-classify natin siya into 7 types sa base sa lahi-lahi nila nga symmetries or isometries. So we have 7 categories of frieze pattern. So first, we have translational only, and then TR, translation and 180-degree rotation. TV, it means translation and vertical line reflection. TG, translation and glide reflection. THG is translation, horizontal line reflection, and glide reflection. TRVG is translation, 180 rotation, vertical line reflection, and glide reflection. And we have the last one, we have TRHVG, translation, 180-degree rotation, horizontal line reflection, and vertical line reflection, and glide reflection. So some of the patterns have translational symmetry, which occurs when a shape moves a certain distance over and over and creating pattern. Other include vertical mirror symmetry, horizontal mirror symmetry, and 180-degree rotations. Frieze design can be found in a variety of places. First, we have frieze pattern in everyday life. So, frieze pattern or border pattern are commonly found in wallpaper borders or design on poetry, decorative design on building, needlepoint stitches, and ironwork railings, and many other places. So, yung frieze pattern is parehas sa kanang mga design sa atong balay, kanang mga wallpapers ato ang bungbong, ganyan mga decorative nga mga decorative design nato nga palibot sa atong balay. So we have frieze design in indigenous art. A frieze is a pattern of repeated copies along a line of a single figure or block that repeats a tile. It is a repetition that makes them different from another pattern border. So we will describe the 7 frieze design. Same design, and then repeated lang iyahang design. Next, we have frieze pattern in architecture. So a frieze pattern is a design on a 2-dimensional surface that is repetitive in one direction, such as pattern occur frequently rather in architecture or decorative art. So we have for example of that na you can see in the photo that mga frieze design or mga decorative design in architecture.
Types of symmetric pattern. Number 3 is tessellation.
Vertex is the point where 2 or more lines or edges meet to form an angle. In this lesson, we will learn about vertex examples, the vertex definition, and the vertex angle. Let's have a look at the 2 rays, ray 1 and the ray 2. They originated from the vertex O, 0 degrees and less than 90 degrees. It is called an acute angle. So what is a vertex point? A vertex point in a math is a point where 2 lines or rays meet. An angle is formed at the vertex. The vertex is denoted by uppercase letters like A, O, P, and etc.
So here we are now at the end of our topic, which is the 2 types of tessellation. So from the previous discussions, we already tackled about what is tessellation. So tessellation is created when a shape is repeating over and over again, creating a plane without any gaps or overlaps. So
Actually, there are two types of tessellations, which is the regular tessellations and the semi-regular tessellations. So, when we talk about regular tessellations, it only uses one regular polygon. So, sa usa ka plane, makita tag usa ra ka shape na mo fill up sa usa ka tessellation. So, isa ka tessellations na box, square ra jud ato makita, isa ra jud ka shape ato makita. So, however, in semi-regular tessellations, it uses two or more regular polygons. So, sa usa ka plane, makita tag two or more shapes. Example, makita ta rectangle, makita tag square sa usa ka plane. So, muna siya ang semi-regular tessellation. So that's all sa coverage ako ang report. So again, when we say regular tessellations, it uses only one regular polygons. So in semi-regular tessellations, it uses two or more regular polygons. So
artist who uses tessellation. Mr. Bilney has been doing tessellation for decades. His work is best known for its Australian themes, correct anatomical proportion and natural graceful, biological correct outlines instead of the blocky unrealistic, stylish lines favorite by many tessellation artists. You can also see here the other tessellation characteristics that Bruce Bilney is famous for. It was Bruce calls wiggle room, and it makes other tessellation artists bonkers. Most tessellation artists agree that a tessellation tile's shape should fit together without gaps. Bruce Bilney is one of only a few tessellation artists who disagree. Maurits Cardels was born in Leeuwarden, the Netherlands on June 17, 1898. He went to a school for architecture and decorative arts where he learned how to draw and use design along with math. Escher's work drew interest from many different people such as art lovers, mathematicians, and even psychologists. His repeating patterns illustrate a mathematical idea called tessellation. He is the father of modern tessellation. Maurits Cardels was a Dutch graphic artist who made mathematically inspired woodcuts, lithographs, and mezzotents.